Hello everyone, welcome to the third night of the Click, Speak, Connect with Me webinar. My name is Lydia Dolly. I'm the Chief Executive Officer and founder of Click, Speak, Connect. Thank you for joining us. We will be starting the webinar now. We ask you to make sure that you are mute. The mute button should be on the bottom of the screen. Our chat moderator is my personal friend, Nikki, and she will ask your questions. So if you have any questions during the session or during the Q&A session, Nikki will ask a few questions in the 30 minutes Q&A session. And now, this is where you can get excited. I'm giving 3 Pixie Pals to 3 people. Pixie Pal is a world first AAC, portable, customizable, durable, affordable, splash-proof, modular and easy to use light tech communication device. It comes with a body strap and multiple communication boards, or you can print your own communication boards and put them in the snaps. Also, I'm giving a box of Click, Speak, Connect, swag gear and AAC gear to one person. In the CSC box contains a CSC tote bag, a CSC t-shirt, a CSC coffee mug, and 2 AAC awareness bracelets, and a AAC sticker that you can put on your laptop. From Maggie. And I highly recommend checking her out on Instagram at the Bookish SLP. It's that time where I'm going to announce the winners of the 3 Pixie Pals and the CSC box. Drum roll, please. If you see your name on the screen, you have won one of the giveaways. Congratulations. So if you see your name on the screen, please email me at lydiadolly@clickspeakconnect.com to let me know how to send it to you. And now I'm going to start my speech now. So sit back, I hope you laugh a lot, and enjoy my story. Hi everyone, my name is Lydia Dolly. I am a 2015 high school graduate from Decatur, Iowa. I am 20 years old, and no, I'm not driving yet. You can thank my parents for that. I am currently a sophomore at the University of Wisconsin in Whitewater, Wisconsin. Just so you know, I am still a Hawkeye fan. How many of you like to play charades? Have you ever played charades with someone who is really bad at guessing the answer? That's really frustrating, right? Now, imagine that you have to play this every day of your life, with people who never guess the right answer. This is what my life is like. I have a condition that is called cerebral palsy. Don't worry, it's not contagious. I thought today I would set the stage for you and tell you how I got cerebral palsy and how I deal with it. When I was born, I was breech. Yeah, I know, a troublemaker from the beginning. The doctors turned me so I was no longer breech while I was inside my mom. I didn't feel anything, or so the doctors say. Then a week later, I was born. My birth wasn't a normal birth. I weighed 9 pounds and 6 ounces. I had a head full of black hair. The room fills up with people. You see your baby lying lifeless. Imagine going to the hospital to have your baby. You are 1 week overdue, and you just want the kid out. It's finally time and nothing. No crying, no movement. Then all of a sudden, you're being told that the umbilical cord is around your baby's neck. Not once, but twice. The doctors turned me so I was no longer breech. The room fills up with people. You see your baby lying lifelessly surrounded by all kinds of people and equipment. A nurse is trying to explain to you what is going on. Your baby is not breathing. They are trying to resuscitate her. You start to pray, Lord, please let my baby breathe. I read the book Rules by Zenobia Lord. It's about a teenage girl, Catherine, and her brother David, who has autism. And finally someone says that she's breathing. That's how I got cerebral palsy. During the time while I wasn't breathing, well, I was dead. Parts of my brain were not getting oxygen and became damaged. So now you can tell everyone that you met a dead person. Lucky for you, the part of my brain that controls my humor was not damaged. And lucky for me, The part of my brain that controls my cognitive learning was not damaged. So I can do things that most people couldn't even imagine that I would do. My parents learned how tough I was when I wasn't even 1 day old. Since I had a hard birth, they had to take me to a bigger hospital in Rochester, Minnesota. A special care team came from Rochester to get me in their ambulance. My grandparents brought my older brother to see me before I left. Well, when my grandparents were on their way home, they came across my ambulance pulled over on the side of the road. So my grandma, who's 100% Irish, pulled over her car and got out and pounded on the door. Well, I'm sure the ambulance guys thought, why is this crazy lady knocking on our door? Well, they were going to find out how an Irish grandma acts when she's all worked up. They asked her what she wanted. She said, that is my granddaughter in there, and what are you doing to her? Here I had pulled out my breathing tubes, and for safety reasons they have to pull over to reinsert the tubes. Later my parents found out that the ambulance had to pull over 3 more times. I guess I was advocating for myself from the beginning. I didn't need those breathing tubes. Cerebral palsy is not progressive. It also is not curable. People with cerebral palsy will have it all their life, but with a supportive family, therapy, educational opportunities, and assistive technology, people with cerebral palsy lead productive lives. I have grown up on a farm with my parents and my older brother, Zach. For someone who has cerebral palsy, this can be a challenge because things like unexpected noises and quick-moving objects can startle you very easily. Well, my brother helped cure me of that at a young age. Zach used to put me on my hands and knees, and put a football a few feet away from me. Then he'd yell, "Hut hut," and for some reason I dove as hard as I could to get the ball before he did. He was doing therapy and he didn't know it. He was always wrestling me around and dragging me outside to play in the sandbox or ride horse. He treated me like a sibling should treat another sibling. He also taught my parents that I wasn't breakable. Lucky for me, my parents always listened to their gut feelings and didn't accept words like "it's not possible" or "she can't." My parents always gave me the chance to try and figure out what I was capable of doing on my own, but they always expected me to give 100%. I have had intensive physical therapy all of my life since I was 8 months old. When my dad would come to therapy and hear me crying, he would ask my therapist if they were supposed to do that. Of course, I agreed with my dad. I was tactile defensive, so my skin didn't like to be touched, and it would make me cry even to be hugged or kissed. So my therapist taught my parents a torture technique to help me to get over that. They would brush my skin with a nail brush. No, not a brush made out of nails. A brush for your fingernails. Can you really blame me for crying? But I do have to thank my therapists now for what they did. They helped me get where I am today. When I was 18 months old, a doctor told my parents that they were being too aggressive with me. He said that they needed to accept that I was disabled and they should consider putting me in an institution because it would make life easier for me and them. Well, my dad picked me up and walked out of the room without looking back. My mom told him that she felt sorry for him because he couldn't see the potential in a patient. My preschool teacher told my parents there is something in this girl's head and it's called brains. She encouraged my parents to mainstream my education. I had to learn how to communicate. I started preschool when I was 3 years old, so I had to learn how to read at an early age, so I could let people know what I needed and what I was thinking. Believe me, I had a lot of thoughts that I wanted to get out. Despite my parents thinking some of my thoughts should stay thoughts. My preschool teacher told my parents there is something in this girl's head and it's called brains. She encouraged my parents to mainstream my education. I had to learn how to communicate in non-traditional ways in order to be in a regular classroom, to make friends and to just get along in life. My parents taught me if I want to be independent in this world, I would have to advocate for myself. So I did what I had to in order to let people know what I was saying. This leads me to a story when I was in kindergarten. My aide that was supposed to help me with my physical needs just didn't get the fact that I had a brain and I liked to use it. Some days, as you all know, you can only take so much. To get her attention and make her listen to me, I kicked her. Well, to make the long story short, kindergarten was the first trip to the principal's office. Lucky for me, the principal appreciated my strength in self-advocacy, and he ended up apologizing to me for my aide's ignorance. Let's just say this incident led me to getting a new aide named Connie, and she was my aide from that day until the day I graduated from high school. I call her my second mom. Early on, most people around me realized my disability didn't have to limit me, except, for example, people at Walmart. People would ask my mom a question like, "Is this the color that she wants?" Well, my mom would say, "I don't know, ask her." Then she would turn to me and I would answer with my communication device or spell it out. That was one way my mom would let people know that I was capable of speaking for myself, even if it took 10 minutes to get the answer out. Everyone is capable if you believe in them. I had an educator tell me that I could just observe in the classroom, and I didn't have to do the work. I didn't like that thought, so I knew that I had to figure out a way to get my voice out. So one day I found a device on the internet that I thought would help me. So I printed off the information and took it to school and gave it to my teacher and told her I needed this. Well, I should maybe have told my parents first, as they were pretty surprised when I got a call from my teacher. So I got the device, and what was so cool about it was I could make it speak with my eyes. It had a camera that would read my pupils and make the device work. Well, I wanted a pink camera, and I told the company that, well, they had never made a colored camera before. Well, I got my pink camera, and now because of me the company has a whole rainbow of color options for their cameras, and they rarely sell black cameras anymore. But since I have to wear glasses, the camera cannot read my pupils accurately, so I now use an iPad Pro. My parents are always looking for ways to help me be more independent. So when I was 4, my mom took me to Poland for extensive physical therapy. I had extensive, Adeli, suit therapy for 6 hours a day. Adeli suit is a suit the cosmonauts used from Russia when they were in space. It has bungee cords attached to it that put resistance on your muscles and make them do things that you cannot. We stayed in Poland for 1 month. After that month, I could stand up against the wall by myself, and I could walk when someone would hold my hand. We took 3 trips to Poland and stayed a month each trip for my therapy. We also took my physical therapist from DeKalb with us for a week. She was so impressed with my progress. She learned the therapy technique and got one of the Adeli suits. So now, because of my parents, my therapist, and my efforts, people can benefit from that therapy in DeKalb without having to go all the way to Poland. I have spoken to a lot of colleges in order to show people that there are ways to make yourself heard and to advocate for people with disabilities. I met with Iowa Congressman Tom Latham to lobby for medical equipment suppliers who help people with disabilities get medical equipment like wheelchairs. The laws have changed, and instead of getting medical equipment at your local supply company, people with disabilities have to get their equipment from the supplier that gives the lowest bid. So, that means, if my wheelchair breaks down, I have to have it fixed by the company that will fix it the cheapest, even if that company is 2 hours away, instead of getting it fixed by a local business. Before this law, I could just call the local medical equipment store and they would send someone over right away. The new law has made life for me and others with disabilities very inconvenient. In order to make the government understand, I lobby. And to help people with disabilities, I advocate by giving speeches, raising awareness, and I do not let my cerebral palsy limit my life. I also met with Iowa Senator Harkin. When I was asked to be a representative for Talk to Me Technologies company at Hawkeye Community College at their disability awareness event. Then I was asked to speak at the Iowa State Speech Pathology Convention. And I also was asked to speak at a speech pathology conference in Omaha, Nebraska as a representative for Talk to Me Technologies company. I was the first Iowa high school student to participate in Iowa State speech competition that used an assistive communication device. I won the Heart of the Arts Award from the state of Iowa for my advocacy in allowing people with assistive communication devices to participate in high school speech competitions. I was chosen as the Wincheek County Fair Queen in 2014. I was then sent on to the Iowa State Fair to compete in the Iowa State Fair Queen competition where I was crowned Miss Personality Plus. For the past year, I have been the ambassador for the Center of AAC and Autism, a company from Arkansas. They have an app called Words for Life that is for people who can't verbally speak. This is the app I use every day and I am using it to give this speech. So I help co-develop apps for people with disabilities for this company. I Skype with families that need help with finding their child's voice. I have also Skyped with college classes for the company so that I can show them how I access my iPad and answer questions they have in order to help them prepare for their career as speech pathologist. I applied and was accepted into the undergraduate research program at the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater. I am going to do my research on assistive communication in different cultures. Can you tell I love a challenge? Being at college has presented a whole new set of issues. For example, my wheelchair has an override switch. Well, it for some reason became defective. So my wheelchair would just shut off all of a sudden on its own. I was going across campus and my override switch shut my wheelchair off. Well, the switch is on the back of my chair, where I cannot reach it. Now that I'm in college, I finally get to be totally independent. I do not have an aide with me all the time. So, when my wheelchair stopped and I couldn't reach the switch to turn it on, I had to get someone to help me. Sounds easy, right? Not. My iPad battery had died, so communication was very difficult. I got another student to stop, but she could not understand my gestures or what I was trying to say. So she did what she felt she had to do to get me help. She called the police. Luckily, the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater has a lot of students in wheelchairs. So, the police were familiar with trying to figure out these issues and they found my override switch and got my wheelchair going. I was feeling pretty proud that I had managed my problem on my own, without my parents. So I posted a clever statement on my Facebook page about how I hadn't even been in college a month and someone called the cops on me. Well, My mom read my Facebook page, and let's just say, my mom now takes blood pressure medication. My parents' dream for me has always been independence. Well, that has come with a price for my parents. Going to college, 4 hours away from home, was a big adjustment for my parents and my brother. Not having an aide beside me 24/7 was a big deal to my parents. Let me tell you, college has been all I hoped it would be. I am in total charge of my life, and I am doing a pretty fantastic job. Despite freaking my parents out a few times, like another time my wheelchair shut off by itself, and I was stuck in my chair in the common living space in my dorm at 11 p.m. Well, after not being able to reach any of my aides to come help me, I called my parents, and they told me to put my feet up on the chair that was next to my wheelchair, and sleep there until my aide could come in the morning. Well, I was tired and uncomfortable, so I decided to lower myself onto the floor and crawl to my bedroom. Being in college, I hadn't been doing therapy and working out like I did at home, so crawling to my bedroom was harder than I anticipated. But I did make it to my room after an hour and a half, and several rug burns later. Yeah, gotta live and learn, right? I hire and fire my own caregivers. Yes, I have fired a caregiver that talked baby talk to me and just couldn't see past my disability. I hire college students. Some of the things I have them do are help me take a shower and do my hair, help me with my laundry, go grocery shopping, and clean my dorm room. And they prepare my food. I found on the internet a robotic arm to help me feed myself. It is called Dobby. So I contacted the company via email and tried the robot for 2 weeks. I love the freedom it gave me in feeding myself. So I got a loan from the company, and now I feed myself. My parents were a little shocked when I told them it would be coming in the mail to their house. In class, my professors will ask for volunteers to be note takers for me, so they take notes and give me copies of their notes. Otherwise, in college, I am expected to do all the same work, with the same deadlines as everyone else. I am allowed to take my tests at the Center of Disabilities so that I can complete them electronically, since I cannot write. They say that going to college will change your life. You will meet your lifelong friends. You have experiences that you won't forget. That may be true. I have met my nerdy friends and I guess I will keep them around. But I don't think people meant by going to college will change your life 360 degrees. But going to college for me changed my life. It did a 360 and never stopped turning. On November 5th, it was a Sunday. My friend and I were at the gym getting our cardio on. I was on the bike, and my friend was on the stair steppers machine, which was like 20 feet away from each other. And I didn't think to bring my phone or my iPad. like 20 minutes on the bike. My friend came and said she got a message from my mom, and she had been messaging me wondering where I was because my cousin's was at my apartment. I thought that was weird because my cousin would have messaged me the night before telling me that he was coming. So I went to my apartment as fast as my wheelchair could. While I was on my way there, in my mind I hoped he bought me a snack because I earned it with going 3 miles on the bike. I looked in the parking lot to let him into the building because people need to have a car to get in. But he wasn't there, so I asked myself, is my mom and him pranking me? And he isn't here. Good one, Mom. You stopped me from exercising. Then I thought maybe he got in and waiting to get in my apartment. So I went to my apartment. When I opened my door, I heard a male's voice talking to my roommate. Here was my cousin. Your dad is in the hospital. I'm going to take you home. So pack clothes and get the things that you need, and we will head out, he said. First of all, I didn't catch that he said, your dad. So I replied with mine. He said, yes. I don't know what is going on. Your mom just said to get you and take you home. I thought my dad must have broken his leg because he had gout and he was just old. But why would my mom would want me home because she would have to take care of my dad and I started to think it was serious. So I packed my bag frankly, not knowing what I was packing. My roommate hugged me, then my cousin and I took off. Before we left town, my cousin told me to not get on Facebook and don't text anyone. Did he understand when you tell someone to not to do something, it makes you want to do it more? No, I don't think so. Whenever we stopped at a gas station, I texted my mom and my brother what's up and what was going on. They didn't answer. I even called my dad. He didn't answer. I began to have a panic attack because I thought something was wrong, and I needed to know. 5 hours later of me thinking about the worst case scenario, then freaking out, I got home. I got a feeling that something major was going on because my yard was full of cars. My mom and my brother came out. It was really weird because they didn't want to make eye contact with me. What is up? I asked my mom. Let's go in the house, honey, my mom said. When we got to the house, I can feel that my family was hiding. They had been crying. My mom sat me down on the couch, my brother knelt by me, grabbed my hand, and my mom sat by me. And I would never forget what my mom said next. Dad and Zach were chasing cattle. Dad had a heart attack. Zach tried to bring him back, but it was too late. I'm so sorry, honey. Dad passed away. Then the whole world stopped. What did I just hear? It has to be a joke because I was just 21 years old. I thought parents were supposed to live in their 80s or 90s, not 59 years old. So I started yelling no, and my mom held me and she started rocking me. My brother hugged my waist. I screamed no until my voice became hoarse. I looked around the room with my family crying. I kept thinking, why aren't they doing something? But what were they supposed to do? The next week is a blur. I didn't want to go to my house, so my mom and I stayed at my brother's house. I had slept probably 10 hours in the whole week, so I watched Friends all night, which didn't make me laugh. Food didn't have a taste, so I didn't eat much, which was weird because I love to eat. My dad was a talker, like he would be gone for hours and hours. We would know if Dad was gone for hours on end. He was probably visiting with someone. People came to my house, bringing food and visiting. Before my dad's funeral, it felt like he was just gone on his visiting hours. Then the funeral was unbearable. I thought I would have to tell goodbye to my dad when I was 40 or 50, but there I was before they closed his casket. I didn't know the proper way to say goodbye. So I coughed at his cheek and laughed. You heard me right. I coughed at my dad to say goodbye. Because whenever my dad asked me to kiss him, I coughed. I think he laughed too because the sun shined bright through the window. Then 3 days later, my mom said, I think you should go back to school because it is really hard to catch up, and Dad would be so sad if you stopped going to school because of him. My brother thought the same thing. Deep down, I thought, were they crazy? I lost my best friend and dad almost 2 weeks ago, but I knew they were right. But I was pretty proud of myself because I did my homework while I was gone. Not to mention everything was on time. I will let you in a little secret. My friend took my anatomy quiz for me online. Technically, I didn't cheat, but some would say that it was. I beg to differ. I went back to school, which was 3.5 hours away from my family. If I was being honest, when my mom left, I looked up the ceiling and asked, what the hell am I supposed to do? Sorry about the language. But I had no idea what I was going to do. I was back to responsibilities of homework, going to class, and managing my personal caregivers. I had no motivation to do any of it, but somehow I did it. I have to admit I was pretty mad at my mom because I thought she didn't understand what I had to do, and I was struggling with so much. And I felt so lonely because none of my friends knew what I was going through. But I had to keep going. I get secretly mad when they say they skip class because they are tired. I think to myself, I wish I could skip because I'm not really here mentally. Dreaming about my dad is so weird, and it totally messes with my head all day. When I wake up, I have to remind myself that dad is not here. I remember in the spring semester, I was in neurology. It was the night before I was studying for the exam the next day. I went to bed, and I had a dream about my dad. When I woke up, I was so confused then I started crying because I realized that it was a dream. I was so off of my game. I went to my exam. Everything that I studied was completely gone, so I just guess every answer. But really, now I'm so glad that my mom and Zach pushed me to go back to school, because I would probably had to retake the classes that I had that semester, which would put me back behind. All my dad and mom wanted me to get a college degree to prove to the people who told me that I couldn't do it, wrong. I'm so proud to say that I am on my way to do that. Last May, I graduated from the University of Wisconsin in Whitewater with my Bachelor's of Science in the Liberal Studies with special interest in Communication Sciences and Disorders. Recently I got accepted to the Graduate Certificate in Assistive Technology at the Northern Arizona University. Last May, I graduated from the University of Wisconsin in Whitewater. On the day that I was supposedly graduating and walking across the stage, but it was canceled because COVID. My awesome family planned to surprise me with my own parade of my aunts and uncles, cousins, and even my grandparents drove around my house, honking their horns and screaming my name. Name? What did I just hear? Old. But really, now I'm so glad that my mom and Zach pushed me to go back to school. It was a wonderful feeling knowing that I proved my naysayers wrong and I graduated from college. But I was sad because I wanted my dad to be there. But it was supposed to be rainy and cold that day. Except it was sunny. I think it was my dad telling me that he isn't here physically, but he is watching me and he is proud of me. Since COVID hit us, I had to move back home with my mom, which is always fun. I think I drive her crazy because I always am doing something, or I want to go do something. I'm a social person, so I miss having people around. Since I graduated from Whitewater, I started a consulting business called Click, Speak, Connect, and it keeps me busy. I started Click, Speak, Connect because I want to change the way speech and language pathology is practiced today. I want it to be about the AAC user and opening doors for them and giving them options of using a device, their own verbal language no matter how limited, handmade speech boards and even spelling words in the air with their hand or fist. I want to help AAC users to feel free and engaged in their own communication. With starting Click, Speak, Connect, our goal is to bring awareness to parents, educators, and therapists that people with augmentative and alternative communication devices can be successful communicators. With that goal in mind, one of the services that we provide is where I Skype with families, educators, or therapists that need help with finding their child's voice. Also, I will Skype with college classes so that I can show them how I access my iPad and answer questions they have in order to help them prepare for their career as speech pathologists. I have been doing these speaking jobs since I was in middle school, and I learned that the audience realizes that a child who uses a device can be a fluent communicator. They just need a team of their parents and educators to believe in them. Then the child will believe in themselves. Another goal I have in giving presentations is to let parents and educators know that everyone has a voice. When talking with parents and educators, I share with them the different experiences I have with access methods, devices, and languages. I share things that worked and didn't work for me and why they did or didn't work. I also explain to how important it is not to get locked into one way of communicating or accessing their voice. Our environments change and we have to adapt, and not every device and access method works ideally across all environments. I teach them this way of thinking will help lessen the frustrations for their clients and kiddos. Another one of the services that we provide is where I do 1-hour Zoom sessions with kids and adults who use AAC devices. I realize that kids need that peer-to-peer relationship with someone who they can relate to, because they get enough of therapies where they are being asked to work on something. With the sessions that I do, it is like hanging out with a friend more than working with a client on A, B, C, and D. Yes, we practice social skills, such as taking turns talking, waiting for each other to type on our devices, and eye contact. But we have a lot of fun with it. We will have jam sessions often, or we play games. I have seen so much progress in my clients in just the 2 months that I have been working with them. I have a client who has a hard time sitting still for a long period of time, but when I meet with her, she will sit for a whole hour. I'm so proud of her and each one of my clients. I really feel like I am making a difference. I can see it in the excitement on their faces and in their communication. They are gaining confidence and now they feel comfortable communicating. It's amazing for all of us. So you see, if my parents had listened to the doctor that day instead of believing in their daughter with cerebral palsy, I wouldn't be here in front of you to prove to the world that a disability doesn't define who a person is. If given the right opportunities, the right tools, people with disabilities can offer so much to the society. People believing in me despite my disabilities has given me the inspiration to believe that there is nothing that I can't do. If someone can't speak or may look like they don't understand, realize they do understand. People with disabilities do not want sympathy. We want friendships and to be given a chance to live a life like everyone else. We didn't choose this life, but since we were given the challenge, we sometimes have to count on others. I feel I was put on earth to make a difference. So sitting around and feeling sorry for myself will not make for a very fun life. I like to laugh, and I feel by sharing my humor in my speeches helps to relieve some of the fears people have towards people who are different. I hope when I give speeches I can affect at least one person's life. My goal is to teach people to see what's on the inside of a person and not to focus on the physical things. I hope to encourage others to find their voices and let the world hear their stories, and most importantly, I hope I can teach compassion for others. So I want to thank you for joining the webinar here today and all of the sessions. I am very grateful for this opportunity to share with you all of the stories that we had. I hope we helped at least one person. Thank you for coming. Last night I told you that I had a surprise guest to talk to you. Well, if you guessed that it was my mom, you were right. Here's my mom, Jackie, and she is going to talk to you about how easy it was raising me. Right, Mom?
Okay, what do I do? Do they see me? Okay. Hi, I'm Jackie. I'm Lydia's mom. What is so funny? It's past my bedtime. Where should I start? Lydia, she actually advocated for herself most of her life. One of the big things we did for her was we had her be part of her IEP meetings, and because we weren't in school with what was going on, and so it really helped, I think, to have her there. She basically told you her whole life story, and I wanted to answer questions if anybody had any questions about mom things with kids, or Lydia can answer questions and I can help her interpret. When Lydia was growing up, she never used her device at home. She had a homemade board that was covered in plastic, and she'd use that, or she would use her hands to spell words in the air for us to understand. But she always had devices that were mounted, and they just were not user-friendly in every environment that she was in. So this iPad has been a big breakthrough as far as being mobile and so versatile that she can use it a lot better in all her environments. What else should I say? The transitioning from high school to college was harder for me than it was for Lydia. She was very excited and ready to go. It was not that way for me. I wanted her to go to college, but I wanted her to go to college like in our hometown. We have a college she could have went to. So if things happened like she talked about, I would have been just 10 minutes away, but she got as far away from us as she could. And I have a feeling eventually she'll be far away from me again, but COVID has kind of been hard since she graduated. It's not safe for her to go out and try to apply for jobs or to actually be working out around people that don't like to wear masks, and her system could be compromised and could ultimately end up in death. So, oh, there I am. So we decided she should come and stay with me. And of course, she couldn't do it without doing something. So she created 2 businesses while she's been home. I'm not supposed to talk about it. Oh, well, she created one. You're what? No. 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 N-O. Now you need to talk about your business? The consulting, your pen. Lydia has created her own stylus, because the other stylus that we use, other people use for like your cell phone and stuff, the little rubber tip breaks off all the time because her tone is so strong, and the stylus themselves are so thin and not long enough for her. So she created her own stylus by instructing me how to do it. So, do I need to look underneath that thing? So we, we have made these, and now she made it. So many people have asked her about it. So she created her own business, and she was having her friends sit and make these, and she was having me make them, and then she was selling them, and then I could not keep up with production when she moved back home, and so we had to stop making them. But she's working with someone and trying to get it started up again, to have a protocol and things set up so that I don't have to be her only employee that doesn't get paid and try to get all these things done for her. So, but anybody that's looking for a different type of access method, this might be helpful to you, and it'll be coming in the future, but you can connect up with Lydia, and she might have a few extras that she could send to you. Are you talking, okay, who is that from? Lisa Brunsworth asked about, I plan to ask you how you made this. Where can I buy one? And are you talking about the stylus, I'm assuming? So yeah, Lydia, send her an email, and then we can try to get you out one of how she's got it. But eventually she will be selling them, and hopefully having them look prettier than this, because it's duct tape, and this is conductive material on the end, because of the iPad, and you can't just touch it with any kind of an object. It has to be conductive. So there's little foam ball on the end, and we've got some cotton to make it soft. Whatever works. Okay. My question was answered. Let us know when they're available. Okay. So, so that was the thing with the, and then with these, the end wears off on these. So, we're hopefully can get some different material that'll work better.
I don't you.
You told me I T O told them L I Lisa to B R I N G bring T I S tissues. Oh, bring tissues. Let's see, what else do you? Lydia basically has always been the one that kind of directed how things should happen for her. So even on devices, like when she trialed the eye gaze device, the gentleman that came with the device and was teaching us or showing us it with the teachers and she had a whole group of people. He said, you can't expect her to be able to operate this right away. It's going to take, her several hours before she, may get a word and figure all this out, and the calibration and having to get all this set up. And by the time he got done with his little spiel, she had already got a question, it was a question typed with her eyes onto the device. So she's not afraid to jump in and try it. You want me to read this? Okay. I remember trialing the eye gaze device with you. Oh yes, that was one of your friends. Lydia, question from, I can't read how that says, but how would you describe disability and AAC to kids both using AAC and their peers who can speak? Oh, you should. When you were in school, and I can tell what we did when Lydia transitioned from kindergarten from preschool into kindergarten. I was worried because she was going to be with kids now that she hadn't been with for 3 years, and they knew nothing about her. And Lydia in her school was the only one that was in a wheelchair with this amount of physical disability, nonverbal, but had cognitive ability. So she was a first for that school system. So Lydia and I went around to the kids that were going to be in her class that next fall and in the spring, and we took all her equipment with her device, and we went in and sat down with the kids, let them touch it, let them play with it, let them get used to Lydia, explained to them why Lydia had cerebral palsy and what it was, and that it wasn't something they needed to be scared of. And that was one of the best things that we did, because kids would, including boys, wanted to help Lydia. They wanted to carry her lunch trays. They wanted to, sit by her in class. And so it really helped for them to see and get used to Lydia. Lydia used to talk on her device, and the kids wanted to talk back to her on her device and answer her with her own device. So we let kids do that because I didn't want them to be scared of it and worried that it was going to break, which it could, but Lydia wanted to be interactive with the kids, so that was the best way we found to do that. But do you want to explain what you used to do in little groups with your speech therapist? When I was in middle school? Well, didn't you do it in elementary too?
No.
Middle school? I had F R I friend group with my speech therapist in school, and we would PL play games and T that helped them be more what? More patient with you. And that helped Lydia's peers be more patient with her for her communication. When they broke it into smaller groups, her therapist said it worked better because then, it was more concentrated for Lydia, And that worked out really good. And then you mentored kids. What was that again? The kids, like when you did the mentoring. I mentored to kids with autism, and we BPL played games to work on their what? SOC social skills. Oh, to work on their social skills. Okay, yeah. What else does it say? I'm working with a bright young woman who is learning AAC, but struggles with self-advocacy. She feels like she needs to hit or swat at people when she is upset. Do you have any suggestions for me and her to help her better advocate for herself? Well, I'll tell you who that sounds like. She's sitting right here. Lydia did the same thing. She would be in her gait trainer and she would be trying to tell us something, and if we didn't understand it, she would ram us into the wall. I mean, she cornered her dad up against the wall because he couldn't understand her, and she would get so mad. So we just had to keep talking to her about, you know, different ways instead of getting angry, because we don't understand that you have to stay calm in order to help us. But it is so what? Hard. What else do you think you did to help you with that? The more you communicated, the better it got. The more she communicated and that her peers could understand her, then it lessened her frustration. But she still till this day will get frustrated if she, like trying to tell me something and I'm not on the right track as she is and understanding it, she'll get mad at me. So it's kind of probably a lifelong thing. Do you have any suggestions for me and her to help with better advocating for herself? And has that girl tried like little group sessions? That seemed to help you a lot. Having just 2 or 3 friends in a small group and working on communicating and them learning to give her time. Lydia used to get really mad when people would read her device over her shoulder. She wanted to be asked if it was okay. And sometimes she said yes, and sometimes she said no. She wanted them to wait till she had it typed out. So that was something she had to teach the people at school that, you know, don't just read it. You ask me, this is my device and these are my words. And so it's a teaching of the peers too, so they understand, because they deserve to be respected for their communication because they have to do it differently. I know that sometimes there's teachers and people that think that they have a anger issue or a behavioral problem. But if you think about it, if you had people not understanding you all day, it would be hard not to act out. So I feel that Lydia, when she did act out, it was a lot of frustration, and the more we could help lessen that frustration, then the better it was as far as calming her down. Okay. I will email my questions. Thank you for sharing your story and amazing to have you developing options. Oh, this one? Okay. I think you know that I'm a parent of a 5-year-old. You didn't get it all there for me. We fight a lot because I don't know technology and it makes her angry. So you can see her frustration with me. Okay, what are we doing? How do I get it up? Push on this? Okay. That wasn't working. Like here? Okay. No, we already did that one. This is just so weird. Okay, how do I get that? I'm trying to get this question, people. I'm sorry. It just really, it's now I'm getting angry. Okay. Here we go. I didn't know you had such a great sense of humor. Thank you. I think you know that I'm a parent of a 5-year-old non-speaking child who is learning to access multiple AAC modes. If you had one piece of advice for me at this stage of my child's life, what would it be? Multiple AAC modes. Is that for me or you? For me, you know, we involved Lydia so much in asking her, you know, there was a point where she didn't want to use a device because it was slow and she didn't like having to deal with it. And she was young and nobody else in the class had to deal with that. So going to the paper, what is that paper? What is that PowerPoint? No. What is it? LOW? Low tech. Low tech what? CRCOM communication board. Okay. So, but what is that called? I mean, was it a word power or something? I don't know. A low tech communication board, and we just printed actually it wasn't it on your device, what you used on your device, and she printed that off, and then we took the cover of a 3-ring binder and tore that off, and then on the open end we just shoved that piece of paper in there so it was protected from her drooling and stuff, and it was stiff and harder than just putting it in a plastic sleeve. And then she could put it on her lap or on a table, and she used that a lot for a couple of years in school because she didn't like using her device. But we didn't force her to use it. We let her use what she was comfortable just so she could get some communication going. And I think that is the key. Let them feel like they're in charge of their communication and how they're doing their communication, because we're all that way. If somebody's telling you this is how you got to do this is how you have to do it, you know, you don't want to do it that way. And if it's hard and takes a long time and people start losing interest in you. That's how Lydia kind of felt. So she liked the board. It was quicker. People could see it. And we let her use it that way until she started wanting to do more homework and things. Then she got more into the technology part of using an actual device. Okay.
Yeah.
And do you have any suggestions from the child's point of view? Like, do you remember when you were young
Yeah.
and being frustrated with devices and
Yeah.
stuff?
I did.
I
was
was
the
frustrated
yeah.
because
My
I,
my
my arm
but that
wasn't
that
that
yeah.
good to,
Move
to operate your device.
I
Wanted to be faster. In second grade, that was something that we did too, was we had the representative that had the device for Lydia come and sit with Lydia in her classroom for the couple hours in the morning to watch her be interactive with her device. And from that, the gal from the company said, why doesn't she use her joystick to operate her device? Because she's really good at moving her joystick. So at that time, then we switched over to Lydia having, was it Bluetooth in your joystick? And being able to connect up to her device, and she could move the mouse around on her device that was mounted on her wheelchair by using her joystick on her wheelchair. And the other thing that Lydia always reminds me about is when you were first little and we tried to use picture boards and she didn't like them. And then now she uses LAMP Words for Life, which is all pictures. So because something doesn't work in first grade doesn't mean it might work in seventh grade. So just keep reintroducing and trying different things. And some of Lydia's was she was being stubborn. She wasn't going to do it that way, so she wouldn't. But, you know, they figure it out. When they realize how much better life is, then they really go for it. Is this something I'm supposed to read? Is that what you said? Okay. Oh, shoot. Low-tech manual communication boards open doors to creativity. Yes. Let's see. I don't know how to run all this stuff. Lydia, did you talk about your aides at school? That you had a communication aid and so that was kind of helpful too. Then they scanned everything for her homework onto her device, but we made it very clear that Lydia was in charge of her device. If she wanted to put jokes on her device because she's liked humor, she was allowed to do that because they have to be in charge of their own communication. Oh, lobbying. How was that started? Oh, remember, that was a girl that I met at a conference. I'm a I've been a compliance specialist for a local hospital here for 25 years. And I went to a conference, a Medicare conference, and there happened to sit next to me a DME gal. And so I was talking to her and telling her how kind of frustrated I was about the new changes that were coming about DME, and not just from the standpoint of working in the industry, but because I had a daughter that used durable medical equipment. So she started talking to me, and I showed her pictures and stuff of Lydia and told her things about Lydia. And she said, would she want to be a representative for our company and go with us to conferences and talk about it? And I said, well, she loves to talk, so I'll ask her. So Lydia's like, yeah, she would do that. So that's how she got hooked up with that company, and they took her down to Des Moines or somewhere, I guess it was. And she talked with Senator Harkin, and who was the other one? Some other senator or something. And she just started, and that was when they got, the senator talked then, and he said all kinds of people had asked him questions and had told them their stories and, experiences from work and stuff about it. And Lydia had told him, about how important it was for her DME guy to be able to just run across town and help her out when she was at school, because when her wheelchair broke down, her communication broke down, it stopped her whole life. And he said at the end of that conference, he said, out of everybody here, I'm going to remember that girl in that chair because of what she said and how she represented herself. So they do listen to you. And if you can, prod or poke your kid to be an advocate, it makes a difference, because they do listen, they hear the story, and they can connect it with the person. It makes a big difference. Like Lydia, she wanted to be participate in speech because she loves doing speeches. Well, they didn't think she could because she had to use an assistive communication device. So she sat down with the speech coach at her school and wrote a letter to the Iowa State High School Speech Association requesting to meet with them and consult with them because she would like to participate. So they talked and figured things out, and they allowed her to participate. And actually then after she won and she went on to state, and they had her come and talk to the district teachers about promoting more special needs students to participate in speech, that, it didn't have to eliminate them just because they were special needs. If they like doing speech or drama, that they should be able to participate in the arts, and to try to get the schools and the teachers to promote more of it. Another one. It says, thank you so much. Such a wonderful presentation all week, was fantastic, empowering. Bravo to all presenters. Okay, you are a role model and an inspiration for so many people. I'd like to know, who is your role model and why?
No, I'm not. My mama.
My role model is E L L E Ellen DeGeneres, because she is,
Done.
has done
Uh,
a,
yeah.
a lot
Boo.
for
People.
people,
Yeah.
and
I.
I
Um.
hope
I.
I
Um.
can
People.
be like that. Who was your role model when you were younger?
Yeah.
Helen
Yeah.
Keller. We read a story when Lydia was real little about her, and Lydia was just from that point on was very fascinated with her and the strength that she had, and just trying to imagine how she could have lived her life, and that, you know, somebody, you might think you have it bad, but there's always somebody that's got it worse. And
Yeah.
she,
Yeah.
L
I.
I B V E, live with it without F E E L I, feeling this S O, sorry for herself. Yeah, she didn't feel sorry for herself, did she? Okay. So I don't know if there's, is that it? Is there any more questions? Is there any more questions? Did you tell them about all your Botox? Lydia had Botox when she was younger, and she had it she had it in her hands, she had it in her pecs, she had it in her adductors, in her hamstrings. So when she had that, it really helped her to be able to use her hands better. It was very painful, so she didn't like it. And when she became, was it like 13, 14 years old, we decided to let her make her own decisions for her medical, because she would get mad and say, we don't understand, and no, we don't have to be the ones going through the pain. So we said, if you don't do Botox, then, we have to do extensive therapy at home. I mean, which we did, but, we had to do even more if we weren't going to do the Botox. So when she went to college, that was something that she had to do too. So she would hire her staff, and they would go to the gym, and she could work out, ride bike, because that's a big thing to keep up on that, so that you can maneuver your device and be able to communicate. Your core and everything is very important for all that. So that's why we took Lydia to Poland. I wasn't big on, our goal for her was to never have to have a surgery. So when we went to Poland, they put Lydia in this, what did you say that was called? A deli, there you go, a deli suit. And it was very painful for her. At first she cried, and it was very painful for her, but she wasn't going to take it off. She knew she was going to have to go through that pain to be able to do things better. And she could feel herself, her body changing and things getting better. And she worked really hard. And at the end of the first month, we were waiting. Her therapist was flying over to be there with us for the last week. And Lydia had been doing a lot more things because of her body being stronger and just more flexible. And she maneuvered herself off her bed and was able to stand up next to it. And I come around the corner and saw her, and it really scared me that she was standing there by herself. And I kind of screamed, and then she lost control of everything and fell and hit her head. And she started throwing up and vomiting and going to sleep. And luckily there was another American parent there that was a doctor. And so I carried her to their room, and he did a quick exam on her, and he said, I think she's got a concussion. She probably should go to the hospital. Well, nobody spoke English, so we had to call an interpreter to come and go with us to the hospital. And she ended up spending the night there. And this was in the same year as 9/11. And we flew over in April. And it was like Poland was very desolate. And it was like the hospital we were in was like if you watched MASH. And you would see these glass bottles that they would use for their IVs and stuff like that. And I just was sick to my stomach being in this hospital because I didn't want them giving her any IVs or doing anything like that, because I thought they had probably reused their needles. And they did take a CT scan of her head to make sure there was no fractures and things. And so we spent the night at the hospital, and they sent us home the next day and said, no fractures or anything, that she should not do any therapy for that last week then, and just to rest. Well, her therapist showed up, and Lydia was not going to rest when her therapist was there. She was going to show her what she could do. And I guess I was just so worked up and confused about everything that I just let her go to therapy, thinking we can't take a chance and not get our money's worth coming all the way over here. So she did finish her therapy that week, and her therapist went with her. Lydia would kick me out of the room, so I couldn't stay in the room when she did therapy, because I talked too much and I was too much of a distraction, and it irritated her, so she couldn't get her work done. So she would make me leave the room, and which the therapist liked, because then she worked really hard. And if I wasn't distracting, then she was good. So her therapist was there, got to see everything, and that was really good. But we went back 2 more times after that, and we had to stay a whole month. And you stay right at the hospital where the therapy is, which is nice, because then you just get up, walk down the hall, and you are at the hospital and start your therapy. So it was a pretty amazing experience, and we fundraised so we could go, because it was $10,000 a trip, which us poor Iowa farmers, we didn't have that money. And I had never even been on an airplane, and I took Lydia, 4 years old, and flew 10 hours on a plane, and she did not want to sit still. So I carried her up and down the aisle, and then I had to let her walk because she was sick of it, and it was kind of miserable for me. But when we flew the first time, it was easy as far as, in the States, not having to check over all kinds of things. When we got over to Germany and Poland and those places, when we flew in, they had drug sniffing dogs. There was, and this was before 9/11. They had, all their security had big, huge machine guns, and it was scary for me that had never seen anything like that before. And then after 9/11, then we would see that here in the United States when we flew out. So it was a big eye opener for me to see what other countries were already doing before we were doing that. But that was a huge experience for us to go over there. Did you do any other types of therapy things? You did water therapy, you did hippotherapy. Another question. Can you talk about how you guys as parents gave Lydia the space to make her own decisions? My parents were that way when I was growing up too, but I know others who didn't have that. Well, actually, Lydia kind of made it so that we had to, because she had her own mind, and she didn't just agree with people, or with us especially. So, if we were trying to interpret something to the teacher or something for her and we weren't right, she didn't stop and let them just say, okay, just that's what it is. She just kept on until we got her point across. So it made it easier for us as parents to let her make her decisions. And I don't know nothing about electricity. I don't know anything about that either, but I don't know anything about electronics. So I thought, why should I learn it? And then if I'm not there, Lydia's stuck because the person that's supposed to be doing it's not there. So to me, it just made more sense to have her learn it and let her do it. And then she was capable and didn't have to rely on other people. That, I guess, was our whole thing, is that I always was looking ahead, that what happens when I'm not here, and wanting to make sure that, she gets it and takes care of it, and I don't have as much worry. That is why I wanted to always open my business to help kids that need that what? Spell it. E Z X T A E X extra help. Okay, extra help in the that T H the I there S E L F in themselves A D advocating for themselves. Oh, okay. I and Lydia's dad, we used to have pen and paper on the table all the time, because she'd spelling these words and we would have to write them out because we would forget what it was halfway through. So that was G O, go up. Okay, like this. Okay, I think, have we got them all? I have a son with autism. I'm in several groups of families with children with disabilities. I would like you to know more about you. Oh, okay. Email you? Email Lydia. She works with a couple kids that have autism. And you love it. And they love it. And I love listening to them talk to Lydia and listening to them laugh. And the one child, they couldn't get her to sit more than 15 minutes in class focusing on things. But she sits with Lydia for a whole hour on Zoom. And her mom was just, you know, astounded by it. I know A L L all the S O N G songs to F R O Frozen, because they like to listen to that. Let's see what else. What is this? I didn't know you had such a great sense of humor. Oh, yeah. I feel like her swatting is definitely frustration. Yep. I would say it is too. We had a friend that had a son, and they went to Lydia's school, and they never got him a device. And he would be so frustrated, and I could just see it, and they didn't think he could comprehend enough to use a device. And it didn't have to be a device. It could be like Lydia's brother, when he was 6 when Lydia was born, and he used to get in her face and just, oh, she wanted to just hurt him. But he was trying to understand her, and she was so mad that he didn't. So he just started, saying, this hand is yes, this hand is no, and then she could punch it for yes or punch this one for no. So then he could at least ask her questions to help, get a better feel of what she was wanting. And it helped a lot. And he figured that out when he was 6 years old to do that. So it doesn't matter what level of cognition they have something to say when they're frustrated. I have see a client with DEV, developmental disabilities, and he always says, will well, I have to, well, I have to go now. And I think he is being F, funny, because his grandpa
Yeah.
gets
Yeah.
mad. Oh, and so he's pushing his buttons. Yes, Lydia used to do that too. She didn't like it if people talk baby talk to her. And Lydia doesn't keep her emotion in. So like if we were out in public and someone talked baby talk to her, I mean, they knew immediately that she was mad at him. And, we tried to tell her, you don't show your emotions so much. You can do things politely, but she would be like, I don't have time for you now. And just, she was gone. She wasn't going to waste her time if they were going to talk baby talk to her. But not everybody understands. So she is better at it this older she's gotten, but she didn't have time for it when she was younger.
No, I don't. No,
You thought what?
I don't. No. I
Oh, if there's no more questions, then what? Are you done? And then you have people gonna win prizes. You already did that. Okay. U E M. Oh, email you. Oh, they need to email her at L Y. Oh, Lydia Dolly, all one thing. Number 4. No, Lydia Dolly
Yeah.
at Click Speak Connect. Is it click.speak? Okay. Lydia Dolly at Click Speak Connect. No periods in there. At clickspeak.com. Okay. Lydia Dolly at clickspeakconnect.com. Because on your Facebook it says click.speak. Okay, so I was confused. So, okay, so that's what happens now. We fight for being in charge and getting attention because we both like it.
No.
Okay, what now? Thank you for coming, and I hope to see you at 1 hour. At what? At our next what? WEB webinar? When is that? Oh, when you have another one? Okay. She hopes to see you whenever she has another webinar. Is that it? Okay. And now what do I do? What? THAN. Oh, thank you. L. Lisa. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for letting me get on the screen. Lydia doesn't lots of times let me out of my little box, so whenever I can climb out and see the world, I like to. Be sure to connect with Lydia. Oh, yeah. Bye-bye. That was Katrina Bruns.